Hey Transformers fans, got another Masterpiece Transformers upgrade for you. Just took a look at the upgrade for that guy right there, Power Baser by Fans Hobby, the Comic Head and Poseable Hands set. This is an older set. It might be a little harder to find. Won't be at all of the regular online retailers. You can find a couple on eBay though by searching X2 Toys, and the name of the set is XT007. It is an upgrade for Masterpiece Ultra Magnus. So before I get to that, there was one other upgrade that I did with this Masterpiece Ultra Magnus, and it was the Poseable Hands by KFC, Collectibles, Keith's Fantasy Club, not Kentucky Fried Chicken. This particular set is currently available at Big Bad Toy Store. It is called KP-08. And you can find it by following the link in the show notes. So support the channel by clicking the link, and if you want a little bit more articulation in your Masterpiece Ultra Magnus hands than the ones that he came with, which 3 fingers are stuck together, and then the pointer finger doesn't really do much either, pick up this set at Big Bad Toy Store. As with most Transformers Poseable hand sets, this guy is really floppy, really likes to fall apart. Standard articulation in all of the digits. The thumb has poseable knuckles, the fingers all have poseable knuckles. You can do fists, you can do pointing like Optimus Prime. Nice tight joints. Fairly tight, not super tight, doesn't feel like they're going to break. So it's nice to have extra articulation there, and also he does have a gap there which the gun will fit just like the original Masterpiece hand, so the hand doesn't even have to clasp around it. This one fits very nicely and it's not going to fall out. But the main thing I wanted to talk about is this set right here, and it is a shoulder upgrade for Masterpiece Ultra Magnus and also a gun upgrade. So here is the original Masterpiece Ultra Magnus gun, which was really tiny, and it might have been cartoon accurate, but for how big this guy is, just a little too tiny for my tastes. So that's why I bought this set, to upgrade the gun, and I have a second one here, and it is substantially larger. And the way they achieve that is just by having these removable bits. So there's this bit that comes off the back, and the front part just slides off. The paint is a perfect match. That's always a tricky thing whenever upgrades are being made for these things, if the shade is a little off, but this is a perfect match. It's this metallic purpley type of paint, and it just slides on there, and that slides on the back there in the gap like so, and then snaps. Love a good snap, means it's nice and secure, and it is much bigger, so you can attach it into the hand, wrap the hand around it, and it just looks more fitting for such a giant Transformer instead of this tiny thing right here. And what I like to do is actually include this one as well on display. Put it in there. A little bit of two blaster justice there. He's packing some serious heat though, but one of them is large and one of them is smaller, maybe for Soundwaves cassettes. And the other part of this upgrade set is a shoulder articulation upgrade, augmentation, increase. And this is something I actually didn't install because I didn't think it was that big a deal.
I can't deal with that now.
But I had some spare time, and after upgrading my Power Baser, Masterpiece Power Master Optimus Prime, I thought, what the hey? And I tried this upgrade out, and I did it on one arm only, to start because I wanted to see the difference, and I wanted to see if this was even going to be worth it to do a video about it. But to show you the difference between the two, this is the original and I took off, and this is one of the upgrades, and that is the difference right there, this big hole right in here, which allows for more articulation. So I'll show you what's happening on the old shoulder joint. Move in here, and when you pull the joint out like that, when you try to move it this way, you can see the plastic is hitting right there, and it's not allowing much movement. It's not bad. I didn't think it was bad, but it's not moving all that much. He's a big blocky figure anyway, so I wasn't expecting much articulation out of him. He's more about bulk than posability. But after installing the new joint, we pull that out a bit just to show you the difference. So this is the old one, the original one, and that's as far as it can go. This is the new one, which I have replaced, upgraded, and it can move. Now this is personal preference. When I saw some videos of this upgrade and I saw this, other people do this exact pose, I thought, what is the big deal? That is minimal. Why bother? But once again, when I see it in person, it is actually nice. It's one of those things where you have to see it in person to really decide if it's worth it or not. And one of the things that has bothered me about this guy is, despite being big and blocky and powerful looking, he really has minimal shoulder movement. And this is a case for me personally, just a tiny bit of extra, and we're not just talking about up and down here. Check this out. He can sort of go forward and across, and he can on the old one. That's just stuck. But just a little bit more movement every which way. And I gotta say, it's not night and day, but it is nice. I do like it. Now I would absolutely love it if it would let him grab the matrix, and that has not been remedied. That's an issue. So you can open up his chest here. There's the matrix inside. He still can't grab his panels as if he's opening it up. You still have to open this, and that looks awful.
I'm not worthy.
That's not gonna work. I mean, it looks like he's mistransformed. Like you haven't finished transforming him. So that is not working for me. And if you were to hold the matrix over his head, he can already do it with his existing articulation. It's really not that much better. The over the head matrix pose doesn't really make much of a difference. Really the main advantage of adding this extra shoulder joint is this right here, being able to kind of puff himself out more. So for that, for me personally, it's worth it because he is a big, bulky, powerful looking figure, and puffing himself out more like that, just on that half right here, that looks more powerful. That looks better instead of this, which is like when you really cover one up and compare them. It's a big difference. So that's up for you to decide. No one can tell you if this is better than that. I like it a little bit better. But if you are interested in getting this, if you do see this and you think, wow, that is way better, why didn't they do that to begin with? Because the joint is there. I don't know why they would block it like that. It's odd. But if you're interested in getting this thing, if you can hunt one down and it doesn't break the bank, I'm going to show you how to install it right now.
Then that's exactly what they're gonna see.
So this set did come with a little screwdriver and a couple of extra screws, but you can just use the ones that were included with Ultra Magnus. And to install, you have to open this up like this, clear the way, and pull this arm down. This can be a little tricky, but you pull these tabs apart a little bit so that this part will unlock. And there are some step-by-step transformation videos that I find a little frustrating because they just go, okay, so you do this, do that, you do that, and I'm left there going, how on earth did you do that? So whenever I do these, I like to be very thorough and specific and say, here's how this works, because it might be frustrating if you're not used to this, if it's new to you. So this opens up like this, and we've got a couple of screws we need to undo in here. It's going to be 4 screws. And you're going to undo that one, that one, that one, and there's one on the top right here. That one too. This screwdriver doesn't have a magnetized tip. If you have one, use it, because this is going to be extremely frustrating without a magnetized tip. Do this over white floor, because you will be dropping these. You will be getting lost.
It's gone.
It's really annoying. And also a word of warning, these are different lengths too. So I'm going to specify which ones are the short ones, which ones are the long ones, because if you try to put a long one in a short hole, here's what you're gonna get. This little stress mark from trying to screw one that's too long. It pushed the plastic out a bit, and that's what you get. So works for me. It's battle damage. Ultra Magnus is no stranger to battle damage, but if that's not something that you want happening to your nice minty fresh expensive masterpiece Ultra Magnus, then watch which screws go back in. And just to clarify, there is one more screw. Can we light it up? There it is. That's where your final screw is. As you rotate this shoulder joint around, you will see another screw in here become exposed. Leave that one in there. Where is it? It's on the back there, depending on what direction you're looking at. Leave that one in there. And there's the 4 screws I removed, and you can see 2 are long, 2 are short. So when we put it back together, I'll show you which ones go where.
Prepare for emergency separation.
And this part just comes apart now. You're going to slide this white part out, wiggle back and forth, wiggle, and it comes off just like that. Set it aside, and then you're going to pop off the back. And we're having focus issues. There we go. So the back part pops off. You're going to set that aside for now. So this part we'll just pop on there, and this can be a little tricky too because it has to go on the end like this, not like this. This is how I had it the first time, and it's far too loose, you see. It has to go red part right to the end of this blue part, but when you try to do that, there's some resistance here. It won't go. So you actually have to wiggle and apply some pressure to get it to go in there, and it will be snug, and it has to be. And that's another thing I noticed, an improvement of these over the original shoulder joints. I had a bit of a droopy arm on one of my Magnus arms thanks to this upgrade. The gun is a little heavier now, so the arms were drooping. And now this is more snug and tight, and you can support the weight of that gun too, so that's a added bonus. So we pop that on there, push it all the way through so that it's nice and snug. This white part right here, this lip right here, needs to feed through this groove like that. And then the same thing, this groove right here has to feed into that groove right there. and that helps it. Let's see here. This part needs to go in behind, like that, and then you push those grooves through there, like that. And now you're going to pop the screws back in, and here's the order that the screws go in. So the bottom two are the long screws, and the top two are the shorter screws. So if you don't want to get that stress mark that I got, follow that sequence. And this is the frustrating part, and I can't find my screwdriver with a magnetized end. So it's going to be pretty frustrating if you don't have a magnetized tip for your screwdriver. So I'm just going to skip over this part because it's going to take me a while.
What choice do we have?
And the final screw goes in. You want to tighten it just a little bit. You don't want to over tighten it, or you're going to still get stress marks on the other side. And we look at the back here, and there are no stress marks, no bumps, whereas on the other side you can see that lovely little bump right there. So let's put it all back together now and see what it looks like. With the added articulation, that pops in like that. This forearm always pops apart. Doesn't want to stay together on mine. Pop that in on the top. Turn that up, turn around. Shoulder missiles, and this is his newly upgraded shoulders. Now, since there isn't anything to compare it with anymore, what's the big deal, right? So what I'm going to actually do is take my other Ultra Magnus, Masterpiece Ultra Magnus. I was able to get one for an amazing price, locally, local pickup, so I didn't even have to pay shipping. So I'm going to compare the original Ultra Magnus with the newly upgraded one, so you can decide for yourself if this little upgrade is worth it. And here is the original unmodified Ultra Magnus, still trying to open the matrix.
Open! Damn it, open!
Poor Magnus, it's not going to open for you, buddy. So here is the unmodified version, and let's take a look at how much shoulder range he's got. Nothing. Not much compared to this guy. He's got quite a bit more. So there's a side-by-side comparison. I mentioned before, it's the puffing up of the pose, and going this way. I mean, listen to this: two ratchet joints up and two ratchet joints down, and that's it. So he's got this kind of elbows at his hips pose, whereas on this side, four ratchet joints. And the nice thing about these elbow joints is that you can push them in, push them out. You don't have to have this, you know, the arms sticking out like this. You can tighten them up a little bit closer to the body. It's not exactly a cool looking pose, but just for the sake of showing you the added range, this guy, I guess maybe in this pose this guy has the advantage, but the nice thing about the articulation is you can just do that anyway with this guy. If you want him to go back to the original limited articulation, he has got it too. So in the end, it's up to you if you think the extra range is worth it, but I can say from my personal preference, now that I've actually seen these two guys side by side, this makes a big difference. He was really, really blocky before, and it wasn't a deal breaker for me. I mean, I own two of these guys, but this extra little bit right here, this used to be This used to be his range right here. That was it. Not even that, really. And now you can do this. Pop that out a little bit. Pop that out a little bit. I really like how this works now. So much more range. To the average collector, or even to people who don't collect, they might think, what is the big deal? But to people who are real aficionados of posability, who really like the variety that extra added articulation provides, to pose experts, it is a nice little upgrade. It's not a huge improvement, but it's nice. It makes a figure that had the potential to be really cool just a little cooler, a little less blocky, a little bit more dynamic. So it was worth it for me. Wasn't something that I had to do immediately when I got it. It just sat in a box for a while, but I'm glad I finally decided to upgrade it. It does make a little bit of a difference. I like it. And you see the original right here. I'll tell you one thing. The more I futz with the improvements, the more I'm disappointed by this. That it just won't go. It should be able to go, but it just won't. It's inexplicably covered up there. Don't get it. So the more I compare the two, the more dynamic this one definitely looks. And the gun, that is a huge bonus, having the upgrade on the gun, giving it a little bit more size, a little bit more oomph, and also the fingers too. Now he can pose his finger, he can point and give orders, much like my power baser with his poseable fingers. So I like it. Thanks a lot for watching, and until next time, Nerdmas Day!